Hello, I'm Bailey Leasure, and this is the Leasure Sports Podcast. As I'm going to talk about the news this week, as I get this podcast out and hopefully in time for the first game of the NFL week this week, which is the Eagles at Carolina. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to recap the wild card, not the wild card, the divisional round. Diamondbacks had a rough one. Just overall, I think Zach Greinke just unfortunately did not, putting that team back from a rotation standpoint, just couldn't hit the ball well, couldn't come up with clutch hits, struggled to get with runners in scoring position. And I really think LA showed their experience in the postseason. They've been in the postseason the last 5 years. Diamondbacks just was their first in 6 years. So, overall, though, I expected the Diamondbacks at least to win one game in this divisional series, and that just didn't happen. So Diamondbacks are, it was a good season overall, but, I think there's a lot good to look forward to in the future. But they got a lot of questions coming this offseason. Who are they going to, are they going to be able to re-sign J.D. Martinez? And I really think one of the keys that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get rid of one of these big contracts. I think Tomas would be ideal, but who's going to take his contract? So, and then Zach Greinke, Greinke's it's good to have his veteran presence, and he had a decent season, but he didn't finish the season off well, and there's going to be questions of his future on this team. So I personally think Robbie Ray could lead this staff, but we'll see what happens. But overall, good season, and I think, we'll see what happens going forward next year. I think there's a lot to, if you're a Diamondback fan, there's a lot to look forward to next season. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the next divisional matchup, the one that just ended last night. Really, I thought the Yankees were done after going down 0-2 after that controversial game 2 of them losing in the, after that missed what should have been challenge of the Yankees. They fought back, and, Didi Gregorius had a really great year. Series in baseball, and I just think no one expected everybody wrote those Yankees off, including me. I really thought the Indians were going to be in the World Series this year, but it looks like that might not happen. But I think as far as Yankees and the Astros, I like the Astros. I think they got a little bit more depth on their team. And they got a lot. I think I like some of the pitching pieces, but it's going to be a good ALCS. Now, as I'm recording this, Game 5 of the last divisional game will be between the Cubs and the Nationals. Now, as far as predictions are concerned, I think Chicago has more of a chance to beat LA than the Nationals. So going forward, I think the Cubs. The reason I say that is that Chicago, there's no pressure on them to win the World Series. They won it last year. They no longer have the 108-year drought. Dodgers have everything. They have the highest payroll. They made all those trades in the trade deadline. There's more pressure on them. They haven't been in a World Series in almost 30 years. There's more pressure on them to get into the World Series than the Cubs to get back. So that's why I think the Cubs probably, if they have the best chance. Not only that, they beat them in 6 games. So we've seen what Kershaw has done. This team has done in the last couple of years going deep into the postseason. It's not been great for them. So we'll see what happens there. But I think if Chicago plays them, I pick the Cubs. If the Nationals play the Dodgers, I pick LA. So those are my predictions. I think one of the shocking pieces after the Red Sox lost, John Farrell was announced that he will not be returning to the team. Overall, he's been in the he's taken them to he took them worst to first in his first year as a manager, taking them to the World Series. But it's just been a big he just hasn't delivered. They've either been first or last in that era. Of course, the last 2 years they were in the divisional playoffs, but they just couldn't get past the Astros. But it didn't shock me. The Astros were the better team. So moving on to the NHL news, Coyotes played their first couple of games. Not off to a good start. You saw what happened in those first 2 games. They lost 4-1 to the Ducks. They lost a 3-goal lead to the Ducks, and then they had a 1-goal lead with a minute left against the new Golden Knights, the expansion team out of Vegas, and lost that lead, lost the game in overtime. They lost 5-2. They'll kick off their next game trying to still look for their first win against the Detroit Red Wings. There's a lot of question marks with the Coyotes. I think this is a young team, and we'll see how Rick Talk is able to lead them. I think one of the bright spots on this team is the rookie Clayton Keller. I think he's got a really he's looking really good. I think he's out of all these young players, I think he's probably the most impressive. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the NFL, there are a lot of injuries this past weekend. I'm not going to go over all the games, but they were, there were so many injuries. Losing J.J. Watt, I mean, it sucks. He's not only a leader for them, but what he did before the season started, raising all that money for Houston after the effects of Hurricane Harvey, it was really one of the feel-good stories of the NFL. And they lost another one of their, lost their leader, so it was unfortunate. Giants season just continues to get worse and worse. They lost a lot of their receivers. They lost Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall to season-ending injuries. Tyler Eifert, who's kind of been injured the last couple seasons, he's out for the year. One of the big stories was Adrian Peterson got moved. He's now been he was traded to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional pick, and the Cardinals traded Chris Johnson. The Cardinals looked bad against the Eagles, so overall, even with that, they need to fix their offensive line. It doesn't matter what pieces you make at quarterback and running back. You need to fix that offensive line, and they need to play better. I don't think it's on Carson Palmer. I think it's on that offensive line because they have not been able to run the ball, and they haven't been able to protect Carson Palmer. They need to do that. So we'll see what happens this Sunday. We'll see if Adrian Peterson can make a boost. I don't think he will, but we'll see what happens. Now, I'm going to go over my predictions. Last week, going up to last week, my predictions so far this year, I'm 48-29. 48 correct and 29 wrong. So we'll see what happens there. Thursday night game, Eagles-Panthers. I like the home team. Panthers are looking pretty good to start off the year. I'm going to take the Panthers. Next matchup, Bears and Ravens. Unfortunately, Mitchell Trubisky has to play against some of the top defenses in the NFL. But the Ravens look pretty good against a Derek Carrless Raiders team. I'm going to take them at home. Packers-Vikings. I think this will be a close game considering this is in Minnesota. But Aaron Rodgers, just what he did against the Cowboys last week, it's just, come on. You can't go up against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to take the Packers. Dolphins-Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons. Redskins-49ers. I'm going to take the Redskins at home. Even without J.J. Watt, I'm going to take the Texans over the Browns. The Jets are kind of surprising people. They're 3-2. They've won their last 3 games, but they didn't look that great against the Browns. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think it will be between 7 to 10 points, but I'm gonna take the Patriots. Bucks Cardinals. I originally was gonna take the Bucks, but the Buccaneers, they didn't really play good up until the fourth quarter last week against the Patriots at home. So I'm going to just take the home team. I'm going to take the Cardinals, but it could go either way. I think it will be like a close game, and it's not going to be that great. Rams, Jaguars. Jaguars are looking pretty good this year and what they were able to do, getting those 5 turnovers off Ben Roethlisberger. I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Jaguars, especially against the Rams that turned the ball over a lot last week. Steelers, Chiefs. I really think this is going to be the last year for Ben Roethlisberger. I really truly think that. And you combine that with how well Alex Smith's been playing. I'm going to take the Chiefs. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers got their first win, but it looked last weekend against a bad Giants team. Not really that impressive. Struggled against them too. I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they're going to get Derek Carr back this week most likely. And even if they don't, I still like the Raiders over the Chargers. Giants, Broncos. Just come on. I'm going to take Denver. Denver's look a lot better. And the plus this is at home for Denver. And then the Monday night game, I'm gonna take the Titans over the Colts. Although I think this will be a close game. Not really that many good division. Other than the AFC West, not a lot of good divisions. But we'll see what happens there. That's pretty much it for the podcast this week. Kind of a short one. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're a fan of my the other podcasts I do, the Guns N' Roses Central podcast. Check the description below for my most recent appearance on that podcast. I'm going to be making another appearance this weekend. If you like the content on my channel, please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. If you like the video, click like, and comment on your views on the sports topics I talked about below in the comments section. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.